Hey everyone, and welcome back to Cosmic Currents. Today, we're talking about something that's probably touched all of our lives in one way or another. A feeling of being stuck on the cusp of something great, but just not getting there. We're exploring the intersection of the tarot and a modern epidemic burnout. It's that moment when you've done all the work, you've planted all the seeds, and you're just standing there, hoe in hand, staring at the field, wondering why nothing's growing. You're asking yourself, am I being patient, or am I just spiritually and emotionally exhausted? Before we dive into the stars, if you're finding these insights helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps this energy reach more people who need it. And drop a comment below and tell me a question you're asking the universe right now. Alright, find a comfortable spot and let's align our energy with the cosmos. The card we're going to use as our guide today is the Seven of Pentacles. On the surface, this card is all about patience. You see the figure standing in a garden, leaning on their hoe, looking at the burgeoning crop of pentacles on the vine. They've done the hard labor, they've toiled. Now, they are in a state of watchful waiting. This is the energy of patience, of trust, of knowing that good things take time to grow. But I want us to look at this card through a different lens today. What happens when that watchful waiting turns into an aimless stare? When the patience you think you're exhibiting is actually a form of spiritual stagnation? That's the feeling of burnout. It's the spiritual fatigue that comes from investing so much of your life force into something without seeing the expected return. Think about the times you've felt this way. Maybe it's a creative project you've poured years into that still hasn't landed a publisher or found an audience. Perhaps it's a relationship you've invested all your emotional energy in that feels like it's going nowhere. Or maybe it's your career you've put in the long hours. You've taken on the extra projects. You've gone above and beyond. But the promotion you've been waiting for is perpetually just out of reach. The Seven of Pentacles becomes a mirror for this feeling. Instead of a hopeful gaze, the figure in the card looks weary. The hoe isn't a tool of readiness, it's a crutch. The pentacles aren't a sign of future harvest. They're a haunting reminder of unfulfilled effort. The key insight here is that burnout is often a spiritual symptom of unexamined stagnation. It's not just physical exhaustion, it's the soul saying, "This isn't working for me anymore." When you're in a state of true, divinely guided patience, there is a quiet, inner knowing that everything is unfolding as it should. There's a sense of peace. But when you're in the energy of stagnation, the energy of burnout, that peace is replaced with anxiety, with frustration, and with a nagging voice that says, "I'm wasting my time." The Seven of Pentacles asks us to stop and really truly examine the seeds we've planted. Are they still viable? Are they even in the right soil? Have we been so focused on the future harvest that we've forgotten to nurture the present moment? Your first step on this journey is simply to get honest with yourself. Look at the areas of your life where you feel this energy. It might be your work, a personal project, or even a relationship. Feel the weight of it, don't judge it. Just acknowledge it. The card is inviting you to a quiet moment of self-reflection, not self-reproach. It's an invitation to ask the difficult but necessary questions. Am I truly being patient, or am I just afraid to make a change? Am I waiting for my garden to grow, or am I watering something that's already dead? This is the core of the message. We can't solve burnout by just pushing through. We have to go to the root of the spiritual exhaustion and ask ourselves if we confuse divine timing with our own procrastination and fear. This confusion between patience and stagnation is a subtle but powerful energetic distinction. Imagine two people looking at the Seven of Pentacles. The first person truly is being patient. They planted their seeds with intention, they've watered them, and they are now in a state of quiet trust. They've done everything they can. Their energy is calm, centered, and grounded. They know the harvest is coming because they've done the work, and they trust the process. This isn't passive waiting. It's an active state of receptivity. It's the energy of listening for the universe's cue, of being ready to receive the harvest the moment it ripens. The card for them represents a beautiful and necessary pause. Now, consider the second person. They also planted their seeds, but maybe they did so out of obligation or because someone else told them to. They've been watering them for years, but the seeds were never viable to begin with, or the soil was wrong. The figure in the card for them isn't in a state of hopeful anticipation. They are in a state of stubborn resistance. They refuse to pull up the dead seeds because it would mean admitting the effort was for naught. Their patience is really just an excuse to avoid making a difficult decision, to sidestep the painful truth that this particular garden might not be meant for them. This is the energetic state of stagnation, and it's the breeding ground for burnout. The more time you spend in this state, the more you drain your life force, your creativity, and your inner joy. You become a spiritual zombie, going through the motions without any real hope or forward momentum. The key insight is that true patience is rooted in purpose and trust, while stagnation is rooted in fear. This is the core of the spiritual lesson here. When you are truly in a state of patience, you are aligned with your higher purpose. You know why you're doing what you're doing, and you trust that the universe is conspiring with you. You feel a sense of inner peace, even if the external results aren't yet visible. You can see the Seven of Pentacles figure and feel their calm resolve. But when you are in a state of stagnation, that core purpose is gone. You just going through the motions because you're afraid of what happens if you stop. You're afraid of the void of having to start over, or of admitting that you made a mistake. You see the card and you feel the character's weariness, their slumped posture, and the heavy burden of unfulfilled potential. So, how do you know which energy you're embodying? You can check in with your physical body. When you think about the project or the situation that is draining you, what do you feel? Is there a sense of lightness and possibility even in the waiting? Or do you feel a knot in your stomach, a heaviness in your chest, or a general sense of dread? Your body is an incredible energetic barometer. It never lies. When you feel that sense of dread, it's not just a sign of stress. It's a sign that your soul is trying to tell you that you are not in alignment, that you're confusing stubbornness with patience. The thought-provoking question for you this week is, what area of your life are you calling patience when it is really just fear of change? Take some time to sit with this. Be gentle with yourself. There's no judgment here. The goal isn't to chastise yourself for being stagnant. The goal is to acknowledge it so you can begin to shift the energy. The Seven of Pentacles isn't a card of failure. It's a card of choice. It's asking you to choose whether to wait with an open heart and a clear mind, or to let yourself become mired in the spiritual quicksand of burnout. Remember, you have the power to decide which energy you'll feed. One of the most insidious ways burnout manifests is through the illusion of busyness. We often confuse activity with productivity and constant motion with forward momentum. You see it everywhere in modern society. We wear our exhaustion like a badge of honor, boasting about our long hours and overflowing schedules. "I'm so busy" has become a default response, a way of proving our worth and importance. But if you were to stand still for a moment and look at the Seven of Pentacles again, you might see something different. The figure in the card isn't running around frantically. They are still, they are observing, they have put the work in, and now they are in a state of rest, even if that rest is tinged with doubt. This stillness is what the illusion of busyness seeks to avoid. When you are constantly moving, constantly doing, you don't have time to stop and ask the uncomfortable questions. You don't have time to assess whether the seeds you're watering are actually going to grow. Busyness becomes a spiritual avoidance tactic. It's a way to distract yourself from the quiet inner voice that knows something isn't working. It's the energy of fear of not being enough, fear of falling behind, fear of facing the truth. The Seven of Pentacles challenges you to break this cycle. It asks you to stop, drop the hoe, and truly look at your life's garden. Is it filled with flourishing plants, or is it a tangled mess of weeds and dead stalks? The real-world example of this is the person who is always working on a side hustle, taking online courses and networking, but never actually seems to make progress. They are constantly in motion, but the motion is a substitute for meaningful action. They might spend hours creating content that gets no engagement, or they might attend countless workshops without ever applying the lessons. They are busy, but they are not productive. Their spiritual well is running dry because they are pouring their energy into 1,000 small, meaningless tasks rather than focusing on one or two things that would actually lead to growth. They are watering every single patch of dirt in the garden, hoping something will sprout, instead of focusing on the one area where there is genuine fertile ground. The Seven of Pentacles reminds you that true productivity is about alignment, not just action. It's about being intentional with your energy, not just spending it. This is where you need to get honest with yourself. Look at your daily habits. Are you doing things out of genuine inspiration, or are you just following a routine? Are you moving toward a goal that truly lights you up, or are you just trying to keep up with the world around you? The card invites you to sit with these questions. The thought-provoking question for self-reflection here is, what are you doing to stay busy that is actually preventing you from doing the one thing that will truly move you forward? This is the heart of the matter. It's about discerning between the meaningful work that leads to a harvest and the frantic energy that keeps you spinning your wheels. You have to be brave enough to admit that some of your busyness is self-imposed and serves only to keep you from facing the truth. By embracing the stillness of the Seven of Pentacles, you can finally see what needs to be pruned, what needs to be nurtured, and what needs to be pulled up entirely so you can stop mistaking frenetic motion for spiritual purpose. To move beyond the illusion of busyness, you need to engage in the crucial work of reclaiming your energy. This isn't just about taking a vacation or getting more sleep, though those are important. This is about a spiritual audit of your life. The Seven of Pentacles invites you to assess where your life force is flowing. Are you pouring your energy into things that will yield a harvest? Or are you simply watering a dead garden? This is the core, actionable insight of this section. You have a finite amount of energy, and every time you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. Burnout is often the result of saying yes to too many things that are not in alignment with your soul's purpose. A simple real-world example is the constant stream of notifications on your phone. Every time you stop what you're doing to answer a text, check an email, or scroll through social media, you are expending a tiny bit of your life force. You may think it's just a few seconds, but the cumulative effect is massive. You're giving your energy away to things that rarely, if ever, lead to a meaningful harvest. A true moment of Seven of Pentacles style introspection would be to turn off your notifications for an hour, sit in silence, and ask yourself, what truly deserves my attention right now? What action will actually move me closer to the life I want to create? You'll find that the urgent notifications often pale in comparison to the quiet, important work that is waiting for you. Another powerful way to reclaim your energy is to reevaluate your commitments. Look at your calendar and your to-do list. The Seven of Pentacles figure is a great model for this. They are in a state of observation, not frenetic action. What commitments are you holding on to out of obligation or a sense of guilt? Maybe it's a social group you no longer enjoy, a project you've outgrown, or a favor you agreed to that is now draining you. Your energy is a sacred currency. Every moment you spend on something that doesn't light you up is a moment you are taking from yourself. The card is inviting you to practice spiritual discernment. It's not about being selfish, it's about being a wise steward of your own life. The thought-provoking question you need to ask yourself is, what are you tolerating in your life that is secretly draining your vital energy? This could be a person, a habit, a job, or even a mental loop of negative thinking. Don't gloss over this. Take a moment to really feel the answer. The discomfort you feel is the spiritual friction of something that is not in alignment with your soul's growth. The Seven of Pentacles is a mirror, and it's asking you to be brave enough to look at the reflection and say, this is no longer serving me. The harvest can't come if you are constantly pouring your life force into an empty well. The process of reclaiming your energy is the first and most critical step in moving from a state of burnout to a state of calm, patient productivity. By consciously choosing where to invest your energy, you begin to heal the spiritual exhaustion at its root. The confusion between patience and self-sabotage runs deep. At the root of this burnout energy is often a series of subconscious fears and limiting beliefs that are causing you to stay in a state of stagnation. You might tell yourself you're waiting for the right moment, but what you're really doing is self-sabotaging out of fear. The Seven of Pentacles figure, when viewed through this lens, isn't just tired from hard work. They're paralyzed by fear. Fear of success, fear of failure, or a fear of what will come after the harvest. You can see this in the imagery of the card the figure is looking at the pentacles, but they're not yet reaching for them. They're in a liminal space, and their hesitation is the key to unlocking the deeper meaning. Let's explore a real-world example of this. You've worked tirelessly on a project. Let's say it's writing a book. You've finished the draft, and it's a monumental achievement. But instead of sending it to an editor or a publisher, you tell yourself, I need to wait until it's perfect. You spend months, maybe even years, editing the same chapters, tweaking sentences, and getting lost in the weeds. This isn't patience, this is self-sabotage disguised as perfectionism. The underlying fear is what happens if the book is rejected, or even more subtly, what happens if it's a huge success? Success can be just as terrifying as failure because it forces you to face a new reality. It requires you to step into a new identity, to handle new responsibilities, and to deal with the public eye. Your subconscious mind, in its desire to keep you safe and in a familiar state, will invent reasons for you to stay put, to wait, and to avoid the very thing you've been working toward. The spiritual principle here is that your greatest fears are often what you are working toward, not away from. This may sound counterintuitive, but it's a profound truth. The Seven of Pentacles is a mirror, and it's asking you to look at what you created and ask why you're not moving toward its completion. What is the real reason you're delaying? Is it truly about divine timing? Or is it a deep-seated fear that you will either fail and prove your worst fears right, or succeed and have your life change in a way you can't control? The figure in the card is a testament to this hesitation. They are standing at a crossroads. One path leads to the harvest, and the other leads to the continued, unfulfilling labor of waiting. Burnout is the consequence of choosing the second path, time and time again. The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, what is the worst thing that could happen if you were to achieve the success you're working for? Be honest with yourself. Dig beyond the surface-level answers. You might be surprised to find that the fear isn't a failure at all, but of the very success you claim to desire. By shining a light on these hidden fears, you can begin to dismantle them. The Seven of Pentacles is a powerful tool for self-discovery, inviting you to look at your work not just as a product, but as a reflection of your deepest beliefs and fears. It's time to stop mistaking self-sabotage for patience, and to start courageously moving toward your own harvest. Now, let's explore this concept of the harvest you're avoiding. This is a powerful paradox. You've been working so hard for a specific outcome, but when you're on the cusp of it, you pull back. The Seven of Pentacles, with its figure contemplating the ready-to-be-picked fruit, perfectly illustrates this. Why would anyone work so hard for something only to avoid its completion? The answer often lies in the subconscious, where our limiting beliefs and fears reside. Burnout, in this sense, is not a failure to work hard, but a subconscious strategy to prevent the final step, the harvest, from happening. A great example of this is a person who has spent years saving money to quit their unfulfilling job and start their own business. They have a solid business plan, enough capital, and the skill set. But when the time comes to give notice, they find themselves suddenly paralyzed. They might start creating new, unnecessary checklists, or go back to researching the market for the 10th time. They might even find a new project that promises to make them even more money, thereby delaying the original plan. Their burnout isn't from the work of saving. It's from the emotional and spiritual exhaustion of being so close to a major life change that their subconscious mind resists. They are subconsciously afraid of the responsibility, the potential failure, or even the success that comes with being their own boss. The spiritual principle here is that the harvest isn't just a reward, it's a spiritual transformation. It requires you to step into a new version of yourself. A writer with a published book is a different person than a writer with a finished draft. A person who starts their own business is a different person than a person who works for someone else. This transition, no matter how desired, can be deeply unsettling. Your subconscious is programmed to keep you in a state of comfort and familiarity, even if that state is painful. Burnout becomes a safe, familiar place to hide, a spiritual purgatory where you are always almost there but never arrive. The Seven of Pentacles figure is in this exact space. They are looking at the harvest, but they are not yet claiming it. They are in a state of arrested development, and the longer they stay there, the more exhausted they will become. The card is inviting you to look at your own life and ask, what harvest are you so afraid of? Claiming that you created a cycle of burnout to avoid it? Are you afraid of the praise, the criticism, or the responsibility that comes with your success? This is not about self-blame, it's about self-awareness. Once you recognize this pattern, you can begin to consciously choose a different path. You can acknowledge the fear and decide to move forward anyway. The figure in the card is an invitation to take that first step, to reach out and touch the fruit of your labor. The spiritual lesson of the Seven of Pentacles isn't just about waiting. It's about discerning when the waiting has become a form of resistance, and having the courage to finally act. To truly understand the Seven of Pentacles and its connection to burnout, we need to take a deep dive into the elemental energy of the suit of Pentacles itself. This suit is ruled by the element of Earth, and it governs our physical reality, our material possessions, our finances, and our relationship with the natural world. It's the suit of grounding, of manifestation, and of the tangible results of our efforts. The pentacles on the card are not just currency. They are a symbol of the fruits of your labor, the physical embodiment of your energy investment. The suit reminds us that we are not just spiritual beings. We are also physical beings who live in a material world. The problem with burnout is that it's an energetic imbalance. You have been so focused on the material, on the doing of the work, the long hours, the constant striving that you have neglected the spiritual and physical needs of your body. The earth element is all about stability and connection to the ground beneath your feet. When you are burned out, you feel ungrounded. You feel disconnected from your body's needs. The Seven of Pentacles figure with their slumped posture and weary gaze is the physical embodiment of this imbalance. They are so focused on the pentacles, the material result, that they have forgotten their own need for rest and nourishment. A real-world example of this is the person who works a high-stress job and rewards themselves by binge-watching a TV show and ordering takeout. They are not truly resting. They are just distracting themselves. True rest, in the energy of the pentacles, is a sacred act of reconnecting with the earth. It could be as simple as taking a walk in nature, gardening, or even just putting your bare feet on the ground. These actions ground your energy and replenish your spirit, helping you to release the stress and anxiety that lead to burnout. The suit of Pentacles reminds you that your body is a sacred vessel, and if you don't take care of it, you can't possibly sustain your efforts. You cannot build an empire on a shaky foundation. The spiritual principle here is that your physical body is not a machine. It is a spiritual garden that needs to be tended to with love and care. When you ignore your body's need for rest, for proper nourishment, and for connection to the earth, you are essentially telling your soul that its vessel is unimportant. This creates a deep sense of energetic depletion. The Seven of Pentacles is a pause, a moment for you to remember that the harvest you are waiting for will mean nothing if you are too exhausted to enjoy it. It's an invitation to check in with the earth element within you. The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, in what ways have you been treating your body as a tool to achieve your goals rather than as a sacred part of the process? This is a critical question for anyone experiencing burnout. It's about shifting your perspective from what can my body do for me to how can I nurture my body so it can be a partner in my spiritual and material growth. By honoring the earth element within you, you can begin to heal the spiritual and physical fatigue that has led to this state of burnout, and transform the weary gaze of the Seven of Pentacles into a look of calm, grounded wisdom. Let's now turn our attention to the numerology of the number 7. In tarot, numbers carry their own powerful archetypal energy, and the 7 is no exception. While the suit of Pentacles deals with the material world, the number 7 is a number of deep introspection, spiritual seeking, and inner wisdom. It's the number of the seeker, of the philosopher, of the person who is taking a moment to retreat from the external world to find answers within. Think of the chariot with its 2 sphinxes pulling in different directions. The number 7 embodies that tension between the earthly and the spiritual. It's the energy of a moment of choice, a pause before a major shift. The 7 of Pentacles, therefore, is a beautiful and complex marriage of these 2 energies, the grounded, physical reality of the Pentacles and the spiritual, introspective nature of the number 7. The burnout you feel is a direct result of the tension between these 2 forces. You've been so focused on the external, on the material rewards the Pentacles, that you have neglected the internal, the spiritual seeking of the number 7. You've been so busy doing that you haven't taken the time to be. This disconnect is what creates the feeling of spiritual fatigue and leads to burnout. The card is a divine invitation to stop focusing on the physical crop and to turn your attention inward. A real-world example of this is the person who is constantly checking their bank account or tracking their business metrics. They're so focused on the external validation of their hard work, the numbers, that they lost touch with the true purpose of their efforts. They might be earning more, but they are feeling less fulfilled. Their sense of worth has become tied to their external results. And when those results are not immediately forthcoming, they feel a deep sense of failure and frustration. This is the energy of the 7 that has been ignored. The card asks you to pause and ask yourself, am I doing this for the external result, or am I doing this because it aligns with my soul's purpose? The spiritual principle here is that your true worth is not tied to your external achievements or your material harvest. It's tied to your inner state of being. The number 7 is reminding you that you are a spiritual being on a human journey. And sometimes, the most productive thing you can do is nothing at all. Sometimes, the most important work is the inner work, the quiet contemplation, the meditation, the journaling, and the deep listening to your intuition. The 7 of Pentacles figure isn't just tired. They are at a spiritual crossroads, being asked to reevaluate their values and their purpose. They are being asked to find the balance between their physical reality and their spiritual truth. The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, where are you over-indexing on external validation and neglecting the quiet, spiritual needs of your soul? This is a profound question. It's about recognizing that the hunger you feel for more is not a material hunger. It's a spiritual one. By honoring the number 7's call to introspection, you can move from a state of anxious waiting to a state of calm knowing, and finally begin to heal the burnout that has been weighing you down. Now that we have a deeper understanding of the spiritual and energetic underpinnings of the 7 of Pentacles as burnout, I want to give you a tangible tool for self-discovery. This is a simple 5-card tarot spread specifically designed to diagnose the root cause of burnout and reveal the spiritual lessons you need to learn from it. You can use your own deck or simply use this as a guided meditation to gain insight. There's no right or wrong here, just a powerful path to self-awareness. The spread is laid out like this. Card 1, the root cause. This card goes in the center. It represents the underlying spiritual or emotional reason for your burnout. It's not just about being tired. This card will show you the core issue you need to address. It's the seed you planted that you need to examine. Card 2, the action you are avoiding. This card goes to the left of the first card. It reveals the step you know you need to take but have been subconsciously resisting. This is often the thing that is causing the most spiritual friction and draining your energy. Card 3, the limiting belief. This card goes above the first card. It represents the belief system, the fear or the internal narrative that is keeping you in a state of stagnation. This is the story you are telling yourself that is preventing you from moving forward. Card 4, the spiritual lesson. This card goes to the right of the first card. It is the key insight you are meant to gain from this period of burnout. It's the deeper purpose behind the struggle. This is a card of wisdom, not just a card of action. Card 5, the path forward. This card goes below the first card. This is the actionable advice. It asks the energy you need to embody or the first step you need to take to begin to heal and move out of the cycle of burnout. A real-world example of how this could play out. You pull the 4 of Cups for the root cause. This suggests your burnout is rooted in a sense of apathy or emotional withdrawal. You've become disengaged from your work because it no longer feels emotionally or spiritually fulfilling. The Page of Swords for the action you are avoiding could mean you are resisting a new idea or a difficult conversation. You need to speak your truth, but you are afraid to. The High Priestess for the limiting belief might reveal that you've stopped trusting your intuition. You've been seeking all the answers externally and have forgotten that your greatest wisdom lies within. The Death card for the spiritual lesson could be a powerful message that this burnout is a prerequisite for a major transformation or ending. The universe is forcing you to let go of what is no longer serving you. And finally, the Ace of Wands for the path forward would be a clear sign that you need to find a new spark of creative inspiration and take that first, bold step toward a new beginning. This spread is an incredibly powerful tool for self-reflection. The key is to approach it with an open heart and a non-judgmental attitude. The cards are not here to tell you what to do, but to give you a deeper understanding of what is happening on a spiritual and energetic level. The Seven of Pentacles is a card of introspection, and this spread is a practical way to honor that energy and receive the guidance you need. The thought-provoking question for you this week is, if you were to pull just one card right now for the root cause of your burnout, what card do you instinctively feel it would be? Trust your intuition. Your first answer is often the most accurate. Now that we've laid out the spread, let's walk through the interpretation of each position, drawing on the wisdom of the Seven of Pentacles. The key here is not to just look at the traditional meanings of the cards, but to see them through the specific lens of burnout, patience, and self-sabotage. Every card that comes up has a story to tell about your relationship with your work, your energy, and your life force. Let's start with card 1, the root cause. This card is the heart of the matter. It's the underlying issue that has led you to this state of spiritual exhaustion. For example, if you pull the Knight of Cups, the root cause might be an overinvestment of emotional energy without a clear or practical plan. You've been leading with your heart, but you've neglected the grounded, practical energy of the Pentacles. This card would be a signal that you need to bring your emotional goals back down to earth. If you pull the Three of Swords, the root cause is emotional pain, grief, or a painful truth that you have been avoiding. The burnout is your soul's way of saying, I can't move forward until you heal this wound. Next, card 2, the action you are avoiding. This card is often the most uncomfortable one to face because it reveals the very thing you know you need to do, but are resisting. If you pull the Judgment card, it might mean you are avoiding a moment of spiritual reckoning or a major life decision. You need to make a choice, but you're stuck in a state of indecision. If you pull the Eight of Wands, you are avoiding taking swift, decisive action. You're waiting for the perfect moment when the universe is telling you to just go. The burnout is your way of putting the brakes on your own momentum. Card 3, the limiting belief. This card reveals the narrative you are running on a subconscious level. If you get the Devil, it could be that you in a self-imposed prison of addiction, or a limiting belief that you are trapped in a situation. The burnout is a manifestation of the spiritual weight of this belief. If you pull the Five of Pentacles, the limiting belief is one of scarcity and fear of being left out in the cold. You are holding on to a job or a project out of fear of not being able to find something better, and this belief is draining you. Card 4, the spiritual lesson. This is a powerful card of wisdom. If you pull the Hermit, the spiritual lesson is that you need to turn inward and find your own inner wisdom. The burnout is forcing you into a necessary period of solitude and self-reflection. If you pull the Temperance card, the lesson is about finding balance and harmony. The burnout is a sign that you have been living in extremes and you need to find a more sustainable middle path. Finally, card 5, the path forward. This is the practical advice. If you pull the Page of Pentacles, the path forward is to approach your work with a new, fresh energy. You need to be a student again and find the joy in the learning process, not just the outcome. If you pull the Star card, the path forward is to reconnect with your sense of hope and spiritual inspiration. You need to release the pressure to perform and trust that you are on the right path, even if it feels like you're in the dark. The Seven of Pentacles invites us into this space of deep, honest self-inquiry. The cards are not an oracle of a fixed future, but a mirror reflecting your current energetic state. Use them as a starting point for a conversation with your own soul. The more honest you are with yourself in this process, the faster you will be able to move out of the energy of burnout and into the calm, patient energy of the Seven of Pentacles as it was originally intended. To fully appreciate the wisdom of the Seven of Pentacles, we have to see it within the larger narrative of the major arcana, specifically through the lens of the Fool's Journey. The Fool's Journey is the quintessential story of spiritual growth and transformation, and the major arcana cards are milestones on that path. The Seven of Pentacles isn't just a moment of pause in the suit of earth. It's a critical moment on this much larger journey. It is a moment of necessary introspection that precedes a major leap of faith. Imagine the Fool, the protagonist of this journey. They've gone through the trials and tribulations of the first 6 numbers of the major arcana, from the magical beginning of the magician to the loving balance of the lovers. Now, they are approaching the energy of the Chariot Major Arcana 7, which is a card of willpower, victory, and forward motion. But before the Fool can fully embody the Chariot's energy, they must encounter the themes of the number 7. The Seven of Pentacles is a mini Chariot moment, a test of will and spiritual fortitude. The figure in the card is being asked, have you truly done the work? Have you truly invested your energy wisely? Are you ready for the next level? A real-world example is the person who is about to launch a new business, a major life change, or a significant creative project. They've done the business plan 2 of Pentacles. They've established the foundation 3 of Pentacles. They've created security 4 of Pentacles. And they've gone through the trials and tribulations of the process. They're at the 7 of Pentacles moment. The launch is right there, but they're feeling that familiar sense of exhaustion and doubt. They are facing a choice: retreat into the familiar burnout or have the courage to take the final leap. The 7 of Pentacles is a critical moment of discernment. It's asking you to look back at the journey so far and confirm that you are on the right path. It's a moment of spiritual and energetic alignment before the victory lap. The spiritual principle here is that every great leap forward is preceded by a moment of quiet, internal reflection. You can't just move from one stage of growth to another without a moment of integration. The 7 of Pentacles is that moment. It's the universe forcing you to slow down and check in with your soul. The burnout you are feeling is a symptom of trying to skip this step. You're trying to rush to the Chariot's victory before you've done the necessary introspection. The card reminds you that the journey is not just about the outcome, it's about the transformation that happens along the way. The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, what are you rushing toward that is keeping you from the crucial, final moment of quiet before the leap? This is a question of trust. Trust in the process, trust in your journey, and trust that the universe has a rhythm and a plan for you. By honoring this moment of pause, you are not stagnating. You are preparing. You are aligning your energy so that when you finally take that next step, it is from a place of power and purpose, not frantic exhaustion. A critical part of discerning whether you are in a state of patience or stagnation is understanding the difference between a genuine cosmic pause and your own fear-based procrastination. The 7 of Pentacles in its highest vibration represents a divinely timed delay. The universe knows that you aren't quite ready for the harvest yet, or that the conditions aren't right. This is a moment of trust, but in its shadow, the card can represent a self-imposed delay, a way for you to avoid the work or the result you're afraid of. The trick is to know which one you're in, and your body and intuition are the best barometers. A real-world example of a genuine cosmic pause is when a project you've been working on gets delayed by an external, unforeseen circumstance. Maybe a new technology is introduced that makes your product obsolete, or a key collaborator has to pull out. You could see this as a setback, a failure, or a reason to burn out. But from a spiritual perspective, it could be a protective action by the universe. It's a gentle redirect. This kind of pause is often accompanied by a quiet sense of relief, a feeling that a burden has been lifted, even if you can't yet see why. Conversely, a self-imposed delay is when you create the obstacles yourself. You keep re-editing the manuscript, you suddenly decide to take another online course, or you start a new, unrelated project just to avoid finishing the one you're on. This delay is accompanied by anxiety, frustration, and a nagging sense of spiritual and emotional exhaustion. The 7 of Pentacles figure, when they are in this shadow state, is not patiently waiting for the universe's cue. They are stubbornly refusing to move. They have convinced themselves that the solution is more work, more tweaking, more waiting, when what is truly needed is courage and action. The spiritual principle here is that divine timing feels aligned, while procrastination feels draining. Divine timing brings a sense of inner peace. Even if the external situation is uncertain, you feel a sense of flow and trust. Procrastination, on the other hand, creates internal resistance and a feeling of heaviness. Your body feels it, and your soul knows it. This is why it's so important to connect with your intuition and listen to the subtle cues. The 7 of Pentacles asks you to tune into your inner knowing. Is this a moment of sacred waiting, or is it a moment of self-imposed delay? The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, when you think about the thing that is causing you burnout, does it feel like a heavy burden or a quiet state of trust? The answer to this question is the key to unlocking the true meaning of your 7 of Pentacles moment. By consciously distinguishing between these two energies, you can begin to release the self-sabotage and embrace the sacred pause that is truly meant for you. Remember, the universe is always working for your highest good, and sometimes its greatest gift is the gift of a divine delay. One of the most profound lessons the 7 of Pentacles has to offer is that resting is a sacred act. In our hyper-productive society, rest is often seen as a sign of weakness, laziness, or a luxury we can't afford. But the spiritual truth is that rest is not the opposite of work. It is an essential part of the work. You cannot have a harvest without the fallow period. You cannot have a creative breakthrough without a period of rest and integration. The Seven of Pentacles figure, whether in a state of patience or burnout, is fundamentally in a state of rest. The question is it a restful rest or an anxious one? A real-world example of this is the athlete who trains relentlessly without a break, leading to injury and burnout. They may feel like they are pushing forward, but they are actually harming themselves. The wise athlete knows that rest days are when the muscle fibers repair and grow stronger. The same principle applies to our spiritual and creative lives. The periods of quiet contemplation, of reading a book for pleasure, of walking in nature without a destination are not empty time. They are the moments when your subconscious mind processes information, connects ideas, and replenishes your creative well. When you are feeling burned out, it is not a sign that you need to push harder. It is a divine signal that you need to rest, not just your body, but your soul. The spiritual principle here is that your energy is cyclical, not linear. We have been conditioned to believe that our energy should be a straight line of constant upward motion. But the universe doesn't work that way. The moon waxes and wanes. The seasons change, the ocean ebbs and flows. Your own life force has this same rhythm. When you are in a state of rest, you are not stagnating. You are in a state of quiet internal growth. You are gathering the energy you will need for the next burst of creative action. The burnout you feel is the consequence of trying to force a linear progression onto a cyclical, natural rhythm. The Seven of Pentacles invites you to honor your own natural cycles, to see rest not as a sign of failure, but as an essential part of the manifestation process. The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, what if you were to reframe rest not as a break from your work, but as a vital part of the work itself? What would your life look like if you truly honored your need for downtime? The Seven of Pentacles is a quiet revolutionary. It is telling you to drop the hoe, sit down, and trust that the work you have already done is enough for today. It's an invitation to lean into the pause and find the spiritual nourishment that has been missing from your life. This is the path out of burnout and into a more sustainable and joyous way of living. In the journey out of burnout, one of the most powerful allies you can call upon is the energy of the Emperor. The Emperor, a major Arcana card, represents structure, boundaries, and authority. He is the divine masculine energy of order and control. The burnout you feel is often a sign of a lack of boundaries. You've said yes to too many people, too many projects, and too many obligations, and in doing so, you have allowed your sacred energy to be drained. The Emperor teaches us how to reclaim our personal authority and set firm, clear boundaries that protect our life force. A great real-world example of this is the person who is always taking on extra work for their colleagues or their boss. They are too nice to say no. They feel guilty if they don't respond to an email immediately. They've allowed their work life to bleed into their personal life, and now they feel a deep sense of resentment and exhaustion. This is a classic case of a lack of boundaries. The Emperor would tell them to stop. He would advise them to create a clear schedule, to define their working hours, and to learn how to say no with confidence. This isn't about being unkind. It's about honoring your own energy. It's about recognizing that you are the emperor of your own life, and you have the authority to decide where your time and energy will be spent. The spiritual principle here is that boundaries are not walls that keep others out. They are sacred containers that keep your energy in. When you have firm, clear boundaries, you are telling the universe that you respect yourself and your time. You are creating a protected space for your creative energy to thrive. The Seven of Pentacles figure, when they are in a state of burnout, is a testament to what happens when you don't have these boundaries. They have given away their energy freely, and now they are left with nothing. The Emperor reminds you that it is not only your right, but your spiritual duty to protect your energy. The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, where do you need to build a new boundary in your life to protect your vital energy? This could be a boundary with a person, a job, or even a digital habit. Don't be afraid of this. Building boundaries is an act of self-love. It's a way of saying, my time is valuable, my energy is sacred, and I will not give it away to things that do not honor my soul's purpose. The Emperor's energy is a powerful antidote to burnout because it shifts you from a state of passive exhaustion to a state of empowered conscious action. By setting clear boundaries, you can move out of the weary gaze of the Seven of Pentacles and into a place of inner strength and self-possession. While the Emperor provides the structure and boundaries to combat burnout, we also need to balance that with the nurturing energy of the Empress. This major Arcana card represents creativity, fertility, and the divine feminine. She is the embodiment of self-nurturing and the beautiful, fertile ground where new ideas and projects are born. The burnout you feel is often a result of being in a state of constant striving and doing the masculine energy without a healthy dose of the Empress S. More receptive and restorative energy. You can't just plant seeds. You have to nurture the soil, and the Empress is the master of this. A real-world example of this imbalance is the person who is a workaholic. They are always on, always hustling. They might be financially successful, but their life is devoid of beauty, joy, and rest. They have no hobbies outside of work. They never take a moment to enjoy nature or to simply sit in a quiet space and listen to their own thoughts. They've become so focused on the doing that they've forgotten the being. The Empress would tell them to stop and smell the roses, literally. She would encourage them to engage in creative acts that have no other purpose than pure enjoyment, gardening, or cooking a beautiful meal. She would remind them that a fallow field is not a wasted field. It is a field preparing for new growth. The spiritual principle here is that creation is a two-step process, the doing and the being. The Emperor's energy is the doing, the structure, the planning, the action. The Empress's energy is the being, the rest, the nurturing, the allowing. You cannot have one without the other. The burnout you are experiencing is a symptom of an over-reliance on the masculine energy of constant output. The Seven of Pentacles, with its emphasis on patience and waiting, is a beautiful invitation to lean into the energy of the Empress. It's a reminder that you have done the planting and now it's time to rest and allow the universe to do its part. The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, in what ways have you been neglecting your own creative and nurturing needs in the pursuit of a material goal? This is about reconnecting with the part of you that isn't just a workhorse, but a creative, spiritual being. The Empress's energy is the antidote to the arid spiritual landscape of burnout. By bringing in more of her creative, nurturing energy, you are not just recovering from your exhaustion. You are preparing the ground for a more sustainable, joyous, and abundant harvest. The Seven of Pentacles figure with their hoe in hand is waiting for you to see that the garden isn't just a place of labor. It's a place of beauty and self-nurturing, and you are the ultimate master of its care. To truly move beyond the spiritual exhaustion of burnout, you need to call on the gentle, yet profound power of the Strength card. This major Arcana card depicts a woman calmly and gently taming a lion. She is not using force or dominance. She is using her inner fortitude, her compassion, and her quiet confidence. This is a critical lesson for anyone experiencing burnout, because we often mistake our exhaustion for weakness. We think we need more willpower, more force, and more discipline to push through, when what we really need is the quiet strength to slow down and listen to our intuition. A real-world example is the person who is struggling with a project, and instead of taking a break, they double down. They work all night, they drink more coffee, they force themselves to continue, and they end up making more mistakes. This is the energy of forcing, of trying to dominate a situation with sheer will. The Strength card would offer a different approach. It would tell you to take a break, to go for a walk, to meditate, or to do something that brings you joy. It would remind you that your inner wisdom knows the way, and that the answer will come to you more easily when you are in a state of calm. The Strength is not in forcing the lion to do your will. It's in a gentle, compassionate connection that allows you to work in harmony with your own energy. The spiritual principle here is that your greatest power lies not in your ability to push, but in your ability to trust. The Seven of Pentacles figure, when they are in a state of burnout, is trying to push the harvest to come faster. They are in a state of energetic impatience. The Strength card reminds you that the process cannot be forced. You have to have the inner fortitude to release the need for a specific timeline and trust that your harvest will come in its own divinely appointed time. The strength to do nothing, to sit with the discomfort of the unknown, and to wait without anxieties, the greatest strength of all. The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, where have you been using force and willpower, where gentleness and trust would have been more effective? This is a question of spiritual discernment. It's about recognizing the difference between a state of anxious striving and a state of calm, centered power. The Seven of Pentacles, in its highest vibration, is a card of strength. It's a testament to the quiet power of patience, the inner fortitude required to trust the process, and the gentle wisdom of knowing when to work and when to rest. By embodying the energy of the Strength card, you can move out of the cycle of burnout and into a more powerful and sustainable way of living and creating. Sometimes the burnout you're experiencing is so profound that it requires a radical shift in perspective. This is where the energy of the Hanged Man comes in. This major Arcana card shows a figure hanging upside down, seemingly in a state of suspension. But the Hanged Man is not a card of suffering. It's a card of surrender and of seeing the world from a completely new angle. It's the universe's way of forcing you to let go of your old way of doing things and to embrace a radical new perspective. The burnout you feel is often a symptom of trying to force a situation that needs to be released, and the Hanged Man is the ultimate teacher of letting go. A real-world example of this is the person who is an entrepreneur and has been working on a business model that is clearly not working. Every pivot, every new marketing strategy, every late night is met with more resistance. They are experiencing burnout because they are so attached to their idea that they can see the truth. The Hanged Man would tell them to stop, to literally hang out and see their business from a new angle. What if the product wasn't the right product? What if the audience they were targeting was the wrong one? What if the purpose of the whole journey wasn't to build a business but to learn a specific lesson? The Hanged Man is a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come not from more effort but from a complete surrender. The spiritual principle here is that sometimes you have to stop trying so hard to find the solution and just allow the solution to find you. Burnout is a consequence of trying to force a solution with your linear, logical mind. The Hanged Man, on the other hand, operates from a place of intuition and spiritual surrender. He knows that when you release your grip on the outcome, the universe can show you a better path. The Seven of Pentacles figure, in its burnout state, is holding so tightly to the idea of the harvest that they can see the more beautiful opportunities that are all around them. The Hanged Man invites them to surrender, to trust that by letting go, they will receive more than they could have ever imagined. The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, where do you need to surrender control and let go of the how in your life? This is a question of profound trust. It's about releasing the need to have all the answers and trusting that your spiritual path is unfolding exactly as it should. The Hanged Man's energy is a powerful antidote to burnout because it replaces the frantic energy of striving with the peaceful energy of surrender. By embracing the perspective of the Hanged Man, you can transform the weary gaze of the Seven of Pentacles into a look of deep spiritual wisdom and calm. Sometimes the burnout you're experiencing is not a symptom of needing to rest, but a symptom of an impending Tower moment. The Tower, a powerful major Arcana card, represents a sudden, and often shocking, collapse of an old structure that is no longer serving you. It's the moment when the universe says, "This isn't working for you, and I am going to force you to tear it all down." While this can feel terrifying in the moment, it is often a divine intervention, a necessary prerequisite for a spiritual rebuilding. The burnout you feel is the deep, spiritual exhaustion that comes from living in a crumbling structure that you refuse to let go of. A real-world example of this is the person who has been in a toxic job for years. They are experiencing deep burnout, but they are too afraid to quit. They feel like they have invested too much, or they are afraid they won't find something better. Their health is deteriorating, their relationships are suffering, and their soul is screaming at them to leave. The Tower moment is when they are suddenly laid off, or a new CEO comes in and restructures the company in a way that forces them out. In the moment, this feels devastating, but from a spiritual perspective, it is a divine intervention. The universe is lovingly, but forcefully, tearing down the old structure to make way for a new, more aligned path. The burnout was the spiritual friction of a soul trying to survive in a place it was no longer meant to be. The spiritual principle here is that some forms of burnout are a sign that you are living in a lie, and the universe is preparing to set you free. This can be a lie you are telling yourself, a lie you are accepting from others, or a situation that has a shaky and unaligned foundation. The Seven of Pentacles figure, when they are in a state of burnout, is looking at a field that is not fertile, at a crop that will never yield a harvest. The Tower card would come in and just burn the field down. It is a harsh but necessary action. It is the universe's way of saying, you can't fix this, you have to start over. The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, what is the structure in your life, be it a job, a relationship, or a personal project that you know is built on a shaky foundation and needs to be torn down? This is a question of radical honesty. It's about being brave enough to acknowledge that some things cannot be fixed, and that the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to let them go. The Tower's energy is a powerful, albeit jarring, antidote to burnout because it replaces the slow, painful burn of stagnation with the liberating energy of a fresh start. By embracing the Tower's wisdom, you can move from a state of exhausting resistance to a state of spiritual liberation and freedom. In the quiet moments of the Seven of Pentacles, when you are feeling the spiritual exhaustion of burnout, it is time to turn to the ultimate inner guide, the High Priestess. This major Arcana card represents intuition, inner knowing, and the wisdom that lies in the depths of your subconscious mind. She is the ultimate guide to trusting your intuition, urging you to listen to the quiet voice that knows when it's time to rest, when it's time to move, and when it's time to let go. The burnout you feel is often a symptom of ignoring this inner wisdom and instead listening to the noise of the world around you. A real-world example of this is the person who feels in their gut that a business deal is wrong, but their logical mind says, the numbers are good, this is a great opportunity. They override their intuition and move forward. only to find themselves a year later in a state of complete burnout. Tangled in a deal that has drained them of all their energy and joy, the High Priestess would have told them to listen to that quiet whisper, that sense of unease. She would have told them that true guidance does not come from spreadsheets and external validation. It comes from the quiet inner knowing that is always available to you. The burnout is the spiritual consequence of betraying your own inner wisdom. The spiritual principle here is that your intuition is a sacred compass, and it is the only compass that will never lead you astray. We live in a world that is constantly trying to tell us what to do, what to buy, and what to be. We are conditioned to seek external validation and to ignore the quiet whispers of our own souls. The Seven of Pentacles invites you into a moment of silence. It is a moment to sit with your exhaustion and ask it what it has to say to you. What is it trying to tell you? The High Priestess, with her quiet and mysterious gaze, is the guardian of this moment. She is reminding you that all the answers you seek are not in the external world, but within you. The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, where have you been ignoring the quiet whisper of your intuition and instead listening to the noise of the external world? This is a question of trust. It's about trusting yourself more than you trust the opinions of others. By tuning into the energy of the High Priestess, you can begin to heal the spiritual exhaustion that has led to your burnout. She will guide you to a place of inner peace, a place where you no longer need to look outside yourself for validation, and a place where you can finally trust in your own sacred inner knowing. Just as the seasons change and the moon waxes and wanes, so too does your own life have a natural, cyclical rhythm. This is the powerful lesson of the Wheel of Fortune. This major arcana card represents the constant ebb and flow of life, the cycles of creation and destruction, of rest and activity. Understanding this card is crucial for anyone experiencing burnout, because it helps you reframe your exhaustion not as a failure, but as a natural part of a much larger cycle. The Seven of Pentacles is just a moment in this larger cyclical flow. It is a moment of rest before the wheel turns, and a new opportunity presents itself. A real-world example of this is the person who is an artist. They have a period of intense creative output, and then they have a period where they feel completely uninspired. They might feel a sense of burnout, a frustration that the creative energy is gone. But the Wheel of Fortune would remind them that this is a natural cycle. The period of rest is just as important as the period of creation. The fallow period is where the seeds of the next great idea are being planted, even if you can't yet see them. The burnout is not a sign that you are a bad artist or that you are a failure. It is a sign that one cycle is coming to an end and a new one is about to begin. The wheel is turning. The spiritual principle here is that you are not a linear being. You are a cyclical being. You are part of the larger rhythm of the universe. The more you try to force a linear progression, the more you will experience spiritual friction and burnout. The Seven of Pentacles figure in its burnout state is fighting against the natural rhythm of the universe. They are trying to force the harvest to come in a season that is not yet ready. The Wheel of Fortune reminds you to surrender to the flow, to trust that the universe has a rhythm and a plan for you, and that the rest you are craving is a necessary part of the cycle. The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, how can you release the need for a linear, straight-line progression in your life and embrace your own cyclical nature? This is a question of profound spiritual trust. It's about letting go of the need for a constant state of up and allowing yourself the space to experience the down and the stillness of the cycle. By embracing the energy of the Wheel of Fortune, you can transform the weary gaze of the Seven of Pentacles into a look of calm. Knowing wisdom, a wisdom that understands that every season has its purpose and that your rest is just as important as your work. When you are in the midst of a burnout and feel like you have nowhere to turn, you can seek guidance from the wisdom of the Hierophant. This major arcana card represents spiritual tradition, established systems, and the wisdom of a teacher or mentor. He is the bridge between the spiritual and material worlds, offering a structured path to a deeper understanding. The burnout you're re-experiencing may be a signal that you're trying to do everything on your own, reinventing the wheel when there's a tradition of wisdom that could guide you. The Hierophant encourages you to look for guidance, whether from a real-world mentor, a spiritual teacher, or even a sacred text. A great real-world example of this is a person who is trying to heal from a major life event. They are experiencing spiritual and emotional burnout, but they are too proud or too isolated to seek help. They believe they have to figure it all out on their own. The Hierophant would encourage them to find a therapist, a spiritual guide, or to join a support group. It's about recognizing that you don't have to carry the burden alone. The Hierophant reminds you that there is great power in tradition and in leaning on the wisdom of those who have walked the path before you. The burnout is your soul's way of saying, I am exhausted and I need help. The spiritual principle here is that you are not a lone wolf. You are part of a larger spiritual community. The feeling of isolation is a key component of burnout, and the Hierophant is a powerful antidote to that feeling. He reminds you that you are connected to a larger web of wisdom, and that there are people and traditions that are here to support you. The Seven of Pentacles figure, when they are in a state of burnout, feels alone in their garden. But the Hierophant reminds them that there is a whole community of gardeners who have gone through the same struggles and who are ready to share their wisdom. The thought-provoking question for your self-reflection is, where do you need to humble yourself and ask for help? This is a question of spiritual ego. It's about letting go of the need to be self-sufficient and embracing the beautiful truth that we are all on this journey together. The Hierophant's energy is a powerful antidote to burnout because it replaces the isolation of the lonely seeker with the support of a community. By opening yourself up to guidance, you can move out of the weary gaze of the Seven of Pentacles and into a place of supported, confident growth. Remember, the Hierophant's wisdom is always there for you. All you have to do is ask. Now that we've explored the deeper meanings of the Seven of Pentacles and the spiritual forces at play, I want to give you a very tangible tool for self-reflection that you can use right now. Journaling is one of the most powerful practices for moving from a state of spiritual exhaustion to one of clarity and purpose. By putting your thoughts on paper, you can externalize the worries and anxieties that are fueling your burnout and begin to see them from a new perspective. These 3 prompts are designed to get to the heart of your Seven of Pentacles moment. The first prompt is, if I were to give my current state of burnout a name, what would it be and why? This is a creative and powerful exercise. Instead of just saying I'm burned out, give it a name like the endless treadmill, the stuck Sisyphus, or the fearful gardener. This act of naming externalizes the feeling and allows you to see it not as a part of who you are, but as a temporary state you are in. When you can name it, you can begin to relate to it differently and create a path to move beyond it. A real-world example of this is a creative person who names their burnout the creative drought. This name gives them permission to rest, to not force the creative flow, and to trust that the water will return in its own time. The second prompt is, what is the one thing I am watering that I know is a dead seed? This is a question of radical honesty. It's about looking at your life and identifying the one project, habit, or relationship that you are continuing to invest in out of stubbornness or fear, even though you know in your heart it will never yield a harvest. This could be an online course you paid for and never finished, a friendship that is one-sided, or a side project that has no real future. By writing this down, you can finally acknowledge the truth and begin to release the energy that you have been pouring into a lost cause. The third and final prompt is, what would I do if I could only invest my energy in the things that truly light me up? This is a question of spiritual alignment. It asks you to bypass all the shoulds and have-tos, and get to the heart of what your soul truly desires. This is not a time for practicality. This is a time for dreaming. What would your day look like? What would your work be? Who would you spend your time with? By giving yourself permission to answer this question honestly, you are planting the seeds of a new, more aligned future. These 3 journaling prompts, when used with the energy of the Seven of Pentacles, can be a powerful catalyst for change. The card is inviting you to a quiet, honest moment of self-reflection. It is asking you to stop, to look at your life's garden, and to begin the sacred work of tending to the seeds that are meant to grow. By journaling on these prompts, you are moving from a state of passive exhaustion to a state of active, empowered creation. To move from a state of spiritual exhaustion to a place of renewal, you need to engage in simple, actionable rituals for reconnection. The Seven of Pentacles, being a part of the Earth suit, is a powerful invitation to reconnect with your body and with the Earth element itself. Burnout often stems from being too much in your head, constantly thinking, planning, and worrying, and not enough in your body, feeling, and being. These rituals are not meant to be another item on your to-do list. They are sacred acts of self-care and a way to recenter your energy. The first ritual is a 5-minute meditation for grounding. Find a quiet space where you can sit or stand with your bare feet on the ground, or simply on the floor. Close your eyes and imagine roots growing from the soles of your feet, reaching deep into the earth. Feel the stability and the calm energy of the ground beneath you. Breathe in the energy of the earth, and on the exhale, release all the anxiety and spiritual exhaustion that has been weighing you down. This simple act can instantly shift your energy from a state of frantic motion to a state of calm, grounded presence. The second ritual is a mindful walk in nature. This is not about getting your steps in or listening to a podcast. It's about being fully present with the earth element. As you walk, pay attention to the feeling of the ground beneath your feet. Notice the textures of the leaves and the bark on the trees. Listen to the sound of the birds. This is an act of spiritual nourishment. The Seven of Pentacles figure is in a garden, and this ritual is a way for you to re-enter your own spiritual garden and remember its beauty and its ability to sustain you. The third ritual is a ritual of release. This is a powerful way to let go of the things that are draining you. Take a piece of paper and write down all the commitments, fears, and obligations that are contributing to your burnout. Don't hold back. Write it all down. Then, take the paper outside and either safely burn it in a fireproof container or tear it into tiny pieces and bury it in the earth. As you do this, say out loud, "I release this with love and I trust that the universe will fill this space with new, abundant energy." This ritual is a physical and spiritual act of letting go, allowing you to create space for the new harvest to come. These rituals are a way to honor the earth element of the Pentacles, and to acknowledge that your body is a sacred vessel that needs to be tended to with love and care. The Seven of Pentacles is not just a card of waiting, it is a card of preparation. It is asking you to prepare the ground of your being for the beautiful harvest that is coming. By engaging in these rituals, you are moving from a state of anxious waiting to a state of calm, centered readiness. We've explored the depths of burnout, the subtle difference between patience and stagnation, and the spiritual insights from various tarot archetypes. Now, let's bring it all together and talk about the tangible path forward. This isn't about a grand, sweeping change. It's about a series of small, intentional steps you can take today to shift your energy from the heavy, weary state of burnout back to the light, trusting energy of the Seven of Pentacles. The card itself is a guide to this path, inviting you to take one small, deliberate action at a time. The first practical step is to give yourself permission to rest. This isn't a suggestion, it is a spiritual command. Schedule time in your calendar for rest. Make it non-negotiable. It could be an hour, an afternoon, or an entire day. During this time, you are not allowed to work on anything, even if it's a fun project. Your only job is to be. This is a powerful act of self-love and a way of telling the universe that you are worthy of rest, even before the harvest has arrived. The second step is to do a small, mindful audit of your energy. Think of yourself as a spiritual accountant. Look at your calendar for the next week. Where is your energy going? Is it being invested in things that will lead to a harvest you truly desire? Or are you giving it away to things that are draining you? You can use a simple red, yellow, and green system. Red for things you need to cut out, yellow for things you need to reevaluate, and green for things you need to lean into. This audit is not a judgment. It's a way of creating a conscious map of your life force. The third step is to engage in a small, creative act with no attachment to the outcome. The Seven of Pentacles is a card of creativity and manifestation. When you're burned out, you often lose the joy of the creative process. So, do something just for the love of it. Draw a doodle, write a short poem, play a few notes on an instrument. This isn't about creating a masterpiece. It's about reconnecting with the part of you that loves to create, separate from the pressure of results. This is how you rekindle the spark that has been dimmed by burnout. A real-world example is someone who works in a high-stress corporate job. The path forward for them isn't to quit their job tomorrow, it's to start small. It's to give themselves a 1-hour period after work where their phone is on silent. They put on some music they love and they just sit and breathe. It's to start saying no to the social invitations they don't want to go to. It's to take out a sketchbook and just draw, without any intention of it being good. These small, deliberate actions create a new energetic groove, a new path out of the forest of burnout. The Seven of Pentacles is not about a sudden miracle. It's about the slow, deliberate work of tending to your own soul. The path forward is not a race. It's a gentle walk back to your own inner alignment. We've journeyed through the weary gaze of the Seven of Pentacles, through the spiritual exhaustion of burnout, and into the light of self-awareness and healing. We've seen that this card is not a symbol of failure, but a powerful invitation to introspection. A moment to ask if you are truly being patient or if you are simply mistaking self-sabotage for hard work. We use the card as a compass to guide us through the labyrinth of our own fears and limiting beliefs, and we've found that the path out of burnout is not a sprint but a gentle walk back to our own inner wisdom. The final and most empowering message of this journey is that you have the power to define your personal harvest. The pentacles on the card don't have to represent money or material gain. They can represent peace of mind, creative fulfillment, deep and meaningful relationships, or a profound sense of inner joy. The harvest is not a one-size-fits-all outcome. It is a unique and deeply personal manifestation of your soul's purpose. The burnout you've experienced is a sign that you have been working toward a harvest that is untruly yours, that you have been watering someone else's garden. A real-world example is the person who spent their entire life trying to climb the corporate ladder because they thought that was the harvest they were supposed to be working for. They were miserable and they were burning out. Their true harvest was to be a poet. When they finally gave themselves permission to pursue their passion, the burnout lifted, not because the work was easy, but because the work was in alignment with their soul. They were no longer working for an external reward, but for the pure joy of creating. They were finally in their own garden. The Seven of Pentacles figure, with their weary gaze, is asking you to get honest with yourself. Is the harvest you're waiting for truly yours? Or is it a goal that society or your family or your own ego has convinced you that you should want? The spiritual principle here is that the most beautiful harvest you can ever receive is the harvest of your own authenticity. This is a profound truth. The journey out of burnout is not just about getting more energy. It's about getting back to your authentic self. It's about tending to the seeds that you were born to plant and trusting that your unique, beautiful harvest will come in its own time. By embracing this truth, you can transform the weary gaze of the Seven of Pentacles into a look of deep, abiding peace, a look that says, I am in my own garden and I am exactly where I need to be. This is a beautiful moment to sit with that final thought. What is your personal harvest? What does it look like, feel like, and taste like? The answer is your guide. Keep that image in your heart and in your mind as you move forward. Your journey is unique, and your harvest is waiting for you. That's all for today. We've journeyed deep into the spiritual roots of burnout and found a way to see the Seven of Pentacles not as a card of stagnation, but as a card of profound spiritual awakening. We've learned to differentiate between divine timing and self-sabotage. And we've been given a toolkit to help us reconnect with our inner wisdom. Remember to honor your own cycles, to set boundaries with love, and to always trust your intuition. The universe has a plan for you, and it's a beautiful one. Keep trusting your intuition, and I'll see you in the next one.